Hey guys, I just wanted to give an update on my situation. It turns out that after my long, hard fight, lots of evidence, lots of documents, and everything in writing or recorded, it seems that after my attorney malpracticed my suit, wasn't prepared at the settlement conference to produce my damages, and kind of left me high and dry after being yelled at, and then consequently, because I told the truth, they withdrew out of retaliation. Upon getting to the hearing with the judge did not give me an opportunity to even have a word before he granted their withdrawal. And then when I did go to speak, he cautioned and stopped me from speaking, warning me on attorney-client privilege. So it made it very difficult not being an attorney, going through all of this, and having my lawyer really screw me to be prepared more than what I could research. And research said I should have had an option to speak to the judge before making a decision. Now, we spent a couple years with the lawyers sending each other what's up text and what's up messages that extended this whole lawsuit for years. But the moment my attorney was given the right to screw me some more by the judge, I was given 90 days to a dismissal. Now, I just want to show you, as it's very important for the truth to be told. These are the FedExes for getting my case file. This is the first one that shows February 4th. In this, I got a USB that had some random files on it, but not my entire case file. Now, my lawyer quit working for me and canceled a deposition back in December of 2024. This is February, where I'm getting the opportunity to get an incomplete case file. Now, I will be putting all this on my archive.org. But again, after multiple requests, finally having to send an email, which I will put up online, this is when I got the actual completed file. If you can see that, where is that? March 11th. March 11th. So I had to answer motions that were coming at me left and right. As soon as my attorney was given the ability to screw me, the other companies decided to jump on board, should I say defendants, and submitted multiple motions to dismiss the case, to give me the barest of minimums. So I submitted my motions with the evidence I could, explaining to Judge Blanchard that I was never given my entire case file. And basically, within the time I got it to within the allotted times to get all this done, gave me about a month. And not being a lawyer, not having legal experience, getting a USB that was completely disorganized, having no ability to know what has been submitted, what hasn't. It kind of was hard in a month. Being homeless, I had to first find a laptop I can use. I had to find electricity to charge it. I had to find Wi-Fi to use it. I was considerably stressed out trying to do what my lawyer should have done a long time ago, and that's produce the evidence and documents, but I didn't know what they were. End of the day, the judge ruled against me, basically let Chicago Title out of the lawsuit, holding them responsible for nothing, and then granting them $40,000 in legal fees that I need to pay them. And then I'm in Mud, Chris Iman's company, was basically given a judgment to pay me $5,000. Now, my house went into foreclosure. My car was repossessed. My credit was destroyed. We're not looking at a situation like there was one little hiccup here. There was purchase orders and agreements made in November of 2021, October and November of 2021. After they failed with no buyer, which I will produce all of this documents and evidence on archive.org, they turned around. We decided to not get screwed over by investors anymore, as this was a couple times we had engaged with investors and just found them to be very untruthful people and not people we wanted to deal with any longer. So we put a lot of things we encountered and went through, and that'll come out in my story, to get the house up to par. We pretty much refurbished the house and upgraded it to turn around and put it on the market in June of 2022. And that's when I had an offer. I was also trying to list it, real estate agents. I kind of was not sure exactly what I was doing, but it was the top of the market. I had an offer of $483,000. Which was, a jump up from the $355 that was given to me by I'm in Mud. The difference in the situation was with I'm in Mud, the house was as is. There was no realtor fees, HOA fees. They pretty much, it was an all-inclusive offer. When I fast forward to the next offers, I had realtor fees, I had upgrades, I had to give concessions. There was a lot of things that had changed. But once I'm in Mud did not come up with a buyer, nobody completed the transaction. Instead of going and filing a lawsuit or screaming breach, we just moved on with our lives to find out again when we had the opportunity to move on and get out and improve our situation. Chris Simon had filed a lien. Now, I had since had a judgment that Chris Simon was never entitled to put a lien on my house, and as a mortgage banker, a loan officer, and a real estate agent with a terminated license, he should know all of these things. I sat and watched every deposition. If I wasn't there, I was watching it. I've listened to every transaction that's went through. I've been organizing paperwork. It's unbelievable to me, the things that I'm about to expose on archive.org. And for me, there is nothing but the truth. That's it. Nothing else. And everything I have to say will have supported documents. And if you know somebody that was burned, that was taken, that was screwed over by the people involved in this case, I encourage you to speak out. I encourage you to reach out to me, because the only day these things will stop is when we all say no more. But the circumstances that I have sat through in my life since engaging in just trying to sell a home, I have been through hell and back. I went without food while I watched Chris Simon posted pictures with him eating lobster and drinking big mugs of beer. I sat in a Christmas with my son with no tree, no food, no Christmas presents, while I got online and saw that Chris Simon had gathered up his whole family to go to an island for Christmas. I have, a lot to say about these things, as I only believe in doing the right thing. I worked hard in my life. I took a lot of sacrifices. I never was entitled. I earned my equity. And I got screwed in my life as a direct result of the greediness and entitlement of others. I will produce documents that show the escrow agent did not adhere to the things that we agreed to when I hired them, their terms, their conditions. I will produce evidence of that. I will produce their own sworn testimony that when an escrow agent screams breach, that's within her wheelhouse of an escrow agent, not a legal thing. But then I'm going to actually produce documents that kind of show how that contradicts everything that they have you agree to when they want you to pay them. I am going to show all of the documentation that shows that the buyer, the end buyer, backed out of the sale. There was no buyer. I'm going to show where the escrow agent, Stacy Hines from Chicago Title, just made documents up and sent out notaries to have paperwork signed, as it's become clearer and clearer that they work for the investor. Not because he brings them a couple deals, but because I'm in Mud also runs Fidelity Realty Estate Academy. Can't be more contradictory than that. So there's definitely a benefit, and there was always a benefit to making him happy versus me, the one little customer that they could screw over and thought they could make disappear and step on and squash like a bug. But unfortunately, when you put a person in a place where they have nothing else, I've lost everything. Absolutely everything. When you put them in a place, I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to fear. I pray every day that God takes me home, because I wasn't built for this. I'm 53 years old. I have to start all over in my life. Credit, money, housing. And I feel that's a real unfair advantage, considering I worked hard to earn what I had. And had you guys have performed I'm in Mud, had you performed and produced a buyer, I mean, considering you're a hard money lender, you could have loaned anybody the money and kept your end of the deal. But you didn't. I took the loss, U-Haul's in my driveway, just to have you hold me down and continuing to cause me losses. But the worst part was when you had your associate, Cody Vogler, reach out to me pretending to be interested in my house, only so you could then present me with an attempted slander suit saying I committed against your company for a person you're associated with that called me asking questions. It's all on recording. These things are all documented. And the thing is, at the end of the day, you might have won through an unjust, unfair system. I'm not done. I'm not giving up. I was never that person. I always worked hard and earned what I had despite everything I'd been through, because I was never that person. I believe in doing the right things. I never wanted to get rich off of anything. I wanted to sell my home, buy 10 acres that I had with a house on it in Arkansas, and get on with my life. It was Chris Iman, Chicago Title, I'm in Mud, Cash for Houses, Brendan Gray, Karen Silverman, Stacy Hines. Don't know if I'm leaving anybody out. Well, gosh, I got to give credit where credit's due to Christina Ortega. I mean, if I hadn't have made the original deal, which is crazy enough, a buyer's purchase and sale agreement with Miss Property Solutions, a California corporation. I made an agreement to sell my house. This is a purchase and sale agreement with Christina, who never, ever intended on buying my house. Did she put down an earnest deposit? She sure did not. She literally bought and made an agreement with me and then turned right around and assigned my house to Brendan Gray. Brendan Gray put down deposit, the earnest money, not Christina. So how is it? How do people do the things that they do? And while I want to make it clear, there was a part in my suit where my lawyer had made an agreement with her to not sue her. There's a lot of things in here incorrect. And I was just told to sign it by my lawyer, who was very all over the place. And I'm going to kind of prove that with his ADHD, all the recordings, all the conversations regarding his difficulties with his, what is that, an illness? I'm not real. But as I learned about the symptoms, it definitely showed me why I had so many issues with my attorney. But anyways, bottom line is, somebody made me an offer to buy my house with no intention to buy it, put me in a schemey scam. There's so many documents where nobody knows who's actually buying the home. None of the dates correspond. Signatures literally added added. You have a completed document where somebody just goes and adds boxes of DocuSign put on hello signs. I mean, none of this makes sense. And then pair that with the actual electronic records with Susan Handwerk, the lawyer at Chicago Title. Pair that with the conversations, the communications. They have said over and over, I was the one that breached. An escrow agent, no legal authority. They say she doesn't even have to have fiduciary duties. So in reality, they awarded her an award because she apparently knew what fraud was and prevented fraud in a transaction, but held her to zero liability for redacting documents, for never being transparent, for not doing what I signed, terms and conditions. It states that the buyer and seller agreed to employ Chicago Title Agency. I was the seller. It says that the agent will not and should not be requested or expected to give financial, tax, or legal advice. Yet, when an escrow agent is telling one party or the other that they're in breach, that's definitely a legal definition. The escrow agent should not be reviewing documents deposited to determine their legality or sufficiency, to explain the meaning or legal consequence of any document, to make any inquiry or any nature concerning the financial condition of any party or entity. Yet you scream breach, Stacy, breach. I have you in multiple different forms, in communication, voice, in writing. I was a breacher. But you were giving advice you weren't even supposed to. Unless agreed to specifically in writing by escrow agent will not investigate and assumes no liability for unrecorded liens, including without limitation mechanic liens. You should just have been basically doing the things that we agreed to, the buyer and seller, in writing in a contract. It clearly says that on number 13, that the notice, the buyer and seller agree that all notices delivered to any party or to escrow agent in accordance with the contract between buyer and seller will be delivered to all parties and to the escrow agent to constitute effective notice under contract. Yet, dead deal, no monies, we don't know who's buying it, who are the 100 assignees, word on the street, Lori's mom, don't tell Lori. It surely shows that you breached that. Buyer and seller, number 19. Buyer and seller understand and agree that upon signing escrow agent's settlement statement deems their approval thereof and acknowledges to the best of their knowledge and belief that it is true and accurate statement of all authorized receipts and disbursements made on their account or by them in connection with this escrow. You sent a notary to Karen with contracts and settlement statements dated November 12th. You're just making up your own dates. Although the buyer's contract, everything I'm going to produce, shows that I was on a deadline, timeline. It's mentioned in multiple different documents. We were closing no later than the 9th. The recording with Brendan Gray says, Lori, if we don't close Monday, Tuesday at the latest, the earnest money is yours. I have posts that say earnest money being released. Yet you, I'm in mud, refer to giving me the money to make me sign? Why would I need to sign? Stacy Hines makes reference to closing. How she just wanted me to sign. Closing doesn't actually mean getting my money. Not at all. That, according to Stacy, closing is just a matter of I need to sign a bunch of paperwork so you can lock me in while I have documents where you're trying to push me off, Brendan, until the following Monday. As if my life, the fact that I transferred my kid, pulled him out of school, pulled all my medical, had medications that I needed at the time. All of the things in my life meant nothing. But clearly, this closing process kind of explains it. What was in writing kind of explains it. So I hope that you guys follow me. If you've made it 20 minutes, thank you. I hope that you follow my journey, because the only thing you've got in the world that nobody could take from you is your voice. Use that shit. Don't let people take your life without telling the truth. Don't turn away in a blind eye from people suffering. This world is in a state of emergency. And the emergency isn't so much right or wrong. It's good and evil. Because what's taken place, what put me in a tent, living in my truck, surviving on food bank food, going without, was greed, was lies, was fraud, was threats, was manipulation. And if you follow my post, you will find that to be the fact that it is. Thank you again. And again, hit that like button, send me an emoji, and please continue to follow my story. If you can support me, that's pretty much all I'm asking from anybody right now. Spread the word, share my documents. It's important that we find the other people that have been done wrong and dirty as these people continue to rise, expand, teaching others how to do these things. It's not okay. It's not okay. You only have one life to live. Why does somebody else get to live and you get to die? Because they want more. A bigger house, another house, a bigger car, more clout. It's not right. And things only change when we stand up and tell the truth and do the right thing. God bless.